Hey everyone, welcome. We are jumping into a really incredible story unfolding right now in New York City. We're talking about a record-smashing early voting turnout that has totally flipped the script on the mayoral race. And trust me, you're going to want to stick around to see how a last-minute plot twist changed everything.
All right, let's get right into it with the big number. Over 735,000 people? Just let that sink in. That is a huge wave of New Yorkers who decided, nope, not waiting for Election Day. This number by itself tells you something major is going down.
And this isn't just, a big number. It's actually historic. We're talking about the highest early turnout ever for a non-presidential election in New York City. It completely shatters the old records. It's a whole new ballgame for voter engagement. But here's where the story gets really interesting, because the number of votes, that's only half of it. The other, and frankly more dramatic half, is all about who showed up and when they showed up. So who exactly were these voters? Okay, so let's break this thing down. We'll start with that first wave of voters. The story that was taking shape in those first few days, well, it looked pretty specific, almost predictable, you could say. So, that first weekend alone, you had about 165,000 ballots cast, and the data was crystal clear. This first wave was all about the older, more experienced voters. The majority, over 55, and the 65 to 74 age group was leading the charge. This was a total 180 from the primary, which, if you remember, was really led by younger folks.
And what's cool here is you can actually see that trend. Look at those big slices for voters over 55. Sure, the 25 to 34 crowd was there, but they were definitely outnumbered. And for a little while there, it looked like this was going to be the whole story.
And of course, a trend like that has huge political implications. You had analysts jumping on it right away, saying, hey, this older electorate could really be a boost for Andrew Cuomo, since he's historically done well with that group. It really felt like the narrative was being set in stone. But then, just when we all thought we had this figured out, the last few days of early voting came along and just threw a massive plot twist into the mix. The whole story was about to get flipped completely upside down. And this chart just shows that twist perfectly. Check this out. The first 5 days, you get about 80,000 voters under 35. Okay, pretty good. But in just the last 3 days, over 100,000. This wasn't just a little bump. It was a total tidal wave of young people showing up right at the end. And to really wrap your head around that surge, look at this number. More than 45,000 people under 35 voted on the last day alone. That's more young voters in a single day than in that entire first weekend put together. That's just incredible. So the big question is, what did this last-minute blast of energy actually do to the overall picture? Well, it didn't just pump up the numbers. It completely transformed who the early electorate even was.
Yeah, this really lays out the before and after. We started with a story dominated by voters 55 and up, but by the time the dust settled, that youth wave was like a powerful counterweight. It actually pulled the median voter age all the way down to 50. So that story of experience suddenly got balanced out by this story of new energy.
You see, the key takeaway here is that this wasn't just one story. It was more like a tale of two different turnouts playing out over 9 days. It kicked off with this strong, steady showing from older voters, but then it finished with this explosive last-minute surge from younger ones. And that last day, it ended up being the single busiest day of the whole thing. All right, so where does all this leave us as we're heading for the main event on Election Day? What does this wild, dynamic turnout actually mean for the race? Okay, let's just quickly recap the whole wild ride. We've got a record-shattering turnout, we've got this fascinating story of two completely different waves of voters, and we end up with an electorate that's way more balanced and energized than anyone saw coming. And what's driving all of them, young and old? The big issues: affordability, housing, and safety. And all of this leaves us with one really exciting question as we head into Election Day. After a turnout like this, with both seasoned voters and a whole new generation showing up in force, well, the future of New York suddenly feels way more dynamic. And maybe, just maybe, a little more up for grabs. So what do you think? Does this youth surge totally change the game? Or does that strong early turnout from older voters still carry the day? Let us know what you're thinking down in the comments. And hey, if you like this breakdown and you want more explainers that cut right to the point, do us a huge favor and hit that like button and subscribe. It really does help us keep making these. Thanks so much for watching. It's been great diving into this historic moment with you. This has been Policy in Plain English. See you on the next one.